What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the rules of engagement. Just talked a little bit about a couple of cool little introductory things with Zerg and Protoss. Before we get to this next segment, let's talk a little about the YouTube promo you just saw. Major League Gaming now has a new YouTube page devoted just for Starcraft. We've also got one for Call of Duty and League of Legends. But the Starcraft one is my favorite for obvious reasons, because that's the old Starcraft. So it's youtube.com/official MLG Starcraft 2. You go over here, subscribe to get updated with all our new stuff. In fact, we actually just put up a new VOD with the new Heart of Swarm beta patch notes. It's been up there just a couple of minutes ago. Go ahead, check it out on YouTube. So make sure to subscribe. And the last thing I want to impart with you guys, one really cool factor, if we get 1,000 subscribers when we get there, we're going to give 4 fistfuls of beta keys out to you guys. So we're just going to start throwing them out like candy whenever our next show is, basically after that 1,000 subscriber mark. So keep subscribing, get access to a lot of new content. We got playlists for rules of engagement, playlists for Heart of Swarm exhibition matches, so matches between players like Seed, Dragon, Supernova. Crank plays in a lot of our stuff. We got a lot of great stuff on YouTube. Go ahead and check it out. So right now we're at 866 subscribers. Call of Duty, they're at 4,151. So if we don't want to get clobbered too badly by these Call of Duty guys, we've got to pick it up a little bit and get it. And of course, if we pick it up, it'll be giving out a lot more beta keys. So go ahead and subscribe. Anyways, our next replay is going to be a Tan replay. It's going to be about executing a Turax versus Zerg, and it's sent to me by Infinity. And he said he wants to improve this strategy that he's tried to do in a match. It's a Turax, and then going into a macro game after that Turax. So as we get into this game, we're going to look at a couple important points. And one is how to play that Turax build versus a pool first opening. How to optimize the build order just a little bit better to make it stronger. And then how to macro safely behind that Turax. You know, how to keep your economy decent while also making sure you're not going to die to some massive invasion and Zerg can throw at you. So we'll jump this replay, and of course we're going to start pretty early on, as this is a very early game orientated build. So let's take a look at some of these tabs here. Now, when you're playing versus a pool first, which you can tell as soon as you see the hatcheries at this far in production at the 330 mark, it was when the SCV walked past it was not even halfway done. You can tell they're going pool first. And in fact, you can confirm it when you get into their base and you see Zerglings pop out, right? They can't make Zerglings without a spawning pool. So you know he's going pool first. If the Zerg goes spawning pool before hatchery, and you're going to Turax, you want to wait for 5 to 7 Marines before you go on the attack. And the reason why you want to do this is twofold. One is, in small numbers, Marines are not very efficient against Zerglings, so you want to wait for a larger Marine count. The other reason is that, look at one of the things that stops the Turax is a spawning cohort to natural, right? But since he didn't go hatchery first, there's not going to be a spawn core there anytime soon. You can easily wait for 5 to 7 Marines, then go on your attack, and then you'll just basically have a much stronger attack. This is why it's extremely rare to see a pro Zerg go spawning pool before hatchery against Terran, because it's extremely difficult to hold off the Turax with the spawning pool first if the Terran waits for 5 to 7 Marines and then pulls some SCVs as well to buffer them. But the situation here is he didn't do that. He went a little bit too fast. Now, as we go through here, we can see what happens. But before we look at what happens, let's talk about the next point. In fact, I'm actually going to rewind this just a little bit to talk about the next point. The next point is going to be basically trying to optimize this build. So, in fact, actually, let's rewind it even more. About to the 2-minute mark. So, you're doing fine. You're getting barracks at 11, barracks at 11, right? That's okay. But the next thing is, it's extremely important to maintain SCV production and get that orbital command as soon as your barracks are done, especially if you intend to go into a macro game after the push, but even if you don't. So SCV production is good here. And now, all of a sudden, okay, there's one more. And let's see, that's good. Keep it up. Oh, there's no SCV production. There's no SCV production. There's still no SCV production. This is where the build's all falling apart. There's no SCV production. It's extremely important not only to get that orbital command, but to maintain SCV production. Without doing those two things, there's no way you can go into a macro game after this, because you can't build stuff without money. It's just the way the world works. You got to get a strong workforce. So it's very important to build the orbital command and maintain SV production, even if you're doing a 2 barracks. You're doing a 2 barracks, that's fine. Keep building those Marines, but also keep building SCVs and get the orbital command. You got to get that economy rolling early on in the game. So as we can see here, if you try to attack with just 3 Marines, what's going to happen is your opponent can just make a bunch of Zerglings. They can pull the Queen, and all of a sudden, they just have too many. In fact, they didn't even really use Zerglings here, so it didn't go too badly for you. But the idea is that you just get torn apart. You got to go 5 to 7 Marines. Then you have enough that you can actually deal with. I mean, rallying these guys didn't help either. But then you have enough that you can deal with Zerglings much more efficiently. So definitely got to keep the SV production up. Got to get the orbital command several minutes faster, because right now in the game you're at 11 SCVs versus 24 drones. Right now you should be on even economy, if not better economy than Zerg player, instead of less than half his economy. So at this point in the game's over, right? You're at half his income, half his economy, and half his food value, half his everything. That's not a way you can really win from here. But let's talk about the last thing. Let's assume that once you do optimize that build, so you should be at like 30 food right now, because you should have been building SCVs and getting that orbital. Then the next thing to do is how to macro safely if he holds your attack, which he will do sometimes. I mean, most of the time your 2 racks will be held. But that's okay. If you were macroing behind it, it would have been okay. In this game, it's not so okay because you have 11 workers. But if you had, the 23, 24 workers you should have at this point, you'd be perfectly fine. So, we'll look through this. The important thing is to continue that worker production, get all your orbital commands, but you have to stay safe as well. And so that's why you'd like to get the gas economy. It's great to go ahead and take the watchtowers like this. As you move out here, take the watchtower. But whenever you take the watchtower, you don't want to leave a slow, vulnerable force island there. Right now it's 2 Marines, that's okay, right? But as you can see here, as you move out here, it's great to take the watchtower with these Marines. But leaving 6 Marines out the watchtower is not good, because if your opponent has a strong, even 10 is even worse. If your opponent has an army that can beat the Marines, the fact that Marines are slow and there's no medevac there to get them out means they're all going to die, and they won't trade very well either. So whenever you take the watchtower, just leave a single Marine there and pull the rest of the units back, because right now this wasn't good, right? It would have been much better if you had 9 Marines back here, or 9 Marines in front of here, something like that. So whenever you move out, take the watchtower, that's great, but don't leave a slow, vulnerable force island there. And I mean, at this point, you're just going to die to his attack, but if you were macroing better earlier, you could have a siege tank on the high ground, a few more depots to make the wall in because you have so much more food. Things would be going a little bit better. So I wouldn't worry about the fact you died to this attack, right? It's easy to say I didn't have enough units, so maybe I made too many drones. That wasn't why. The reason is because at the 4-minute mark, or even at the 3:30 minute mark, you were already cutting workers, right? I think it was about, where's the last worker you made? Yeah, it's already now. You basically go to 13 workers. You don't build a single worker for the next 4 minutes of the game. You can't do that and macro out of it. So when you basically look at this game, the 2 things to take away is, 1, remember how to play against a spawning pool first opening. Wait for 5 to 7 Marines and then go. It's pretty simple. Just you can be able to put a post-it there. If spawning pool first, wait for 5 to 7 Marines. Next thing, put another little stick it post on your monitor or somewhere to the side that says build SCVs. Make an orbital command, no matter what. Doesn't matter what build you're doing. Keep the SCV production and orbital command going. At least when you play Terran, there's pretty much never reason to cut workers until significantly later on in the game. So keep that worker train rolling. Keep those mules dropping. You'll end up in a much better position when the 2-rack situation is resolved than you were in this game. Wraps it up on this segment about how to execute a Terran 2 racks versus Zerg. Take a short break and be back with a question and answer period.